Hi. So I'm just recording a quick video to go over how to create strikethroughs in DocuSign. Came up this morning in Coffee with Your MCA, and I couldn't find any other videos out there that just showed that piece. And I think that's just where there's like this little missing hole of something that would be really useful for everyone, whether right now or later when we get deeper into DocuSign. So I figured I'd just record a quick video. So we're going to jump in. I'm going to go ahead and show my screen. Okay, this will take us like 5 minutes at most. Okay, so I am already in my DocuSign. I'm already in one of the rooms that I've created with a buyer. So what I'm going to do as an example is, let's say that I had an agreement of sale and I already filled it out. I already sent it out in an envelope to my buyers. They've already signed it. What, in case you don't know, what happens when you send out documents that you already filled in, you send through an envelope to your clients for them to sign? What happens after that? You get a couple copies back. So when your document, and I'm going to use this agreement of sale as an example, when your agreement of sale, I'm going to change this to list view because it's easier for me. When your agreement of sale is signed, so I added in this one that's with a blue form. I added this one in originally as a DocuSign form, filled it out, put it in an envelope, sent it to my buyers to sign. They signed it. Once it's completely signed, I get a brand new version. That's a PDF version. It says PAR Standard Agreement for the Sale of Real Estate signed. So it's a flat PDF version of that document signed. I also get a certification for each document that's signed. So I have certification, agreement of sale. This certification really just gives an overview of, what email addresses it went to, when they viewed it, and when they signed it. So really you only need that if you need some sort of proof of when they signed it. But what we're really going to focus on today is this flat PDF version of this agreement of sale. I sent it out, they've already signed it, but I need to change a couple things. I got to change a date, I got to change the sale price. We're just going to use that as examples. So I'm going to check off this one that's signed because this is my flat PDF one, and this is the one that already has the signatures on it. I'm going to hit the little pen to go to DocuSign to go to envelopes. All right. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to say AOS changes. Again, envelope names really important. I really, really believe that it helps you stay a little bit more organized. I have my document in here. Since this is a flat PDF, I won't have pre-tagged roles because there isn't anything on this page. It's flat. So I'm going to choose room participants. And I have to manually add in the changes that I need. Today we're focusing on strikethroughs. We're going to add in, a strikethrough, a text box for the change, and some initial boxes. So I'm adding recipients by room participants. I'm going to add in Cinderella, Prince Charming, and myself. Let's use this one. So Cinderella and Prince Charming are my buyers. I'm going to need them to initial some changes. And me, I'm the agent. So I'm going to add everybody into this. So we have Cinderella, Prince Charming, and myself. I would write in my email if I had what I wanted to say, and I'm going to go ahead and hit next. Okay. So at the top here, we have our drop down that shows us who's participating on this document. It's color coded to make it easier for you. So for all of these changes, any text changes that I'm making, I'm going to make sure that I have myself chosen from the drop down. Because if I add in a text field changing a date or sale price, I want to make sure that that text field is assigned to me to change it. If it's assigned to my buyer, they'd be able to edit anything I put in that box. So I want to make sure if I'm making this change and only me is the one that needs to change it, make sure that it's assigned to you first. So we're going to drop down to the second page and just make a change here. So we're going to change the purchase price. This is an example. So over here on the left, we have a little teeny tiny little menu. Right now we're on standard fields. We're going to go down to the little pencil that says markup tools. Markup tools, there's one tool. It's your strike through. That's it. So markup tools, we have a line. I'm going to click line once, and it's going to give me this little red dash. I just clicked it once. Right now I'm not holding down my cursor at all. I clicked it once, and now it's just hovering over the page. I'm going to choose where I want to drop it. So I'm going to click once again to drop the beginning of this strike through. And then I'm going to bring my mouse over to where I want to end it. So this is where I want to end my strike through, and click one more time. It's going to create the strike through for me. I need to change this purchase price. So we gave our strike through on the purchase price. I'm in markup tools. I want to go back to standard fields. So I'm going to go back to this little square to go to standard fields. I want to add in a text box assigned to me as Caitlin. So from my drop down, I'm yellow. That's me. I want to add a text box under me. So I'm going to hit text one time. It's going to bring up a text box. And again, it's just hovering. I'm going to choose where it wants to go. Click one more time. I'm going to resize this. I think that's good. I'm going to double click in order to edit this text box. Let's just say the purchase price went up. I've changed the purchase price. I'm going to click away to save what's in my text box. There's my change. I'm going to click this text box one more time because you see how it says filled in yellow? That means it's a required field. If I have already made this change, I made this change right now, I added in the text, I'm satisfied with what this says, I don't need to come back and refill it in. So I want to, when I click this text box once, I get an option over here to uncheck it as a required field. I want to uncheck it. All that really means is that when, if I send it out for signatures and I'm included in this, if I leave it as a required field, I'm going to have to open it up and click in that text box in order for it to read that I've engaged with this required field. So if you're satisfied with what you're putting in this text box, make sure you're unchecking that required field, unless you really need somebody to get it. All right, so let's go down and just let's practice doing this one more time with our strike throughs. So let's just say our settlement date has changed. I'm going to use markup tools again. And I'm going to click line one time, get my little red dash, click once at the beginning, and drag over, and once at the end. There's my line. I'm going to go back to standard fields and add in my text box. Again, making sure that I'm labeled as me as the agent because I don't want to make it so anybody else can change it. Click text once. It's going to hover it over my page. Click again where I want it to be. I'm going to resize it and double click in to change it. And we'll say it's changed to 620. Okay, click out of the box on my page. I'm going to click the box one more time and uncheck this required field. Pretty easy. It does take a little bit of learning, and really all you need to know about using the strike throughs is that it only lives in envelopes. So that's where we are right now. We're in an envelope. You will only find that strike through in envelopes. You won't find it in documents, and that's where it gets really confusing because it's different from dot loop. So you can bring that document into an envelope and strike through whatever you need and add text boxes. Let's go ahead and add in on the changes that we made. Since my buyer has already signed off on this and now I'm making new changes, I want to make sure that I'm adding initials for them to sign off on it. So from my drop down, I'm going to choose my buyer one, Cinderella. I'm going to click once on initials to put her initials by the change, resize it, and put a date signed right next to it. And I'm going to choose my drop down again, get Prince Charming, my buyer two, hit his initials once, and make sure I drop his date signed on that as well so that we know when they signed off on it. So that's on my one set of changes. I'm going to scroll down to my second set of changes and put it in again. So from my drop down, Cinderella, my buyer one. I'm going to put Cinderella's initials right here. Drop that once. Click once for date signed. Drop that here. From my drop down, we're going to switch over to my buyer two, Prince Charming. Click initials once. Drop it on. Click date signed once. Click it on the page. Great. So if you have any questions, reach out. But I figured that this would be a really helpful one. From this point with these changes, I can hit send to send it to my buyer one, buyer two, and they can initial off on those changes. I'll get another version of the document. So I will get a new PDF version with their signatures on these changes once I send it out. So then you're going to have two versions. You might want to archive off the old one, but you could keep moving through this way since DocuSign saves the signed versions as a PDF. You can keep adding more changes with more strike throughs and more text boxes and more initial boxes to kind of show the whole process, the whole log. All right, thanks.